conference that was held in Marrakesh, that's in Morocco. And we're actually going to be looking at the outcome of that conference and what Nigeria stands to gain from the whole process. Of course, Nigeria had a good delegation of its officials present during the conference. But joining me today to look at this, we have Esther Agbarakwe. Esther joins us from the Office of the Minister of Environment. Thanks for joining us today on the program.
Very much. Pleasure to be here.
Of course. We also have Olumide Idowu Olumide as well. Thanks for coming on the program.
Good morning.
Sure. All right, Esther, let's, I mean, I'm sure Olumide is a gentleman. He'll prefer you go first, as the gentleman code says. So, yeah, let's begin. Like, what was this conference all about? I mean, people heard about the COP22, COP22, but then what was the major reason for that convergence of world over almost 200 world leaders?
Well, so the COP22 is a 22 meeting of Conference of Parties to the UNFCCC. Also, the 12th session of the Conference of Parties, serving as a meeting of the parties to the Kyoto Protocol. It's called CM2. It started on the 7th of November and ended on the 18th of November. The Marrakesh COP marked a turning point as the landmark Paris climate change entered into force on the 4th of November, before the official date, having achieved threshold of entry into force on the 5th of October 2016. So it is basically a conference that looked at the implementation for the Paris Agreement. So it was called the COP of Action. Signed the Paris Agreement, as you know, at the 17th Nation General Assembly in New York. And efforts here are currently being made to ensure that we transmit our instrument of ratification to the high-level segment. So COP22 was basically looking at how do we enhance ambition, how do we promote implementation and provide support to parties that have signed the agreement. So all of the technical deliberation, we're looking at operationalization of the Paris Agreement adopted last year. So how does that work? How do we implement the Paris Agreement? So that's basically what the conference is all about. And for Nigeria, we look operationalization of the Paris Agreement was one of the key things, looking at that. How does the Paris Agreement work?
Okay, very well. So
how do we implement it?
Okay, very well.
The key focus of that, yeah.
Okay, very well. A lot of people might be wondering what the... Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
All right, very well. So a lot of people will be thinking about what this Paris Agreement is. What exactly is contained in that agreement?
The Paris Agreement was basically an international framework that looked at reduction of emission by 2020 based on different countries' identified contribution, which is called INDC. Which Nigeria submitted as well in the Paris Agreement. So, so we're looking at now that you've signed the Paris Agreement to reduce emissions. How does it going to work? How does it implement? Where the resources going to come from? How do we support each other to make it work? Technology transfer and the rest of them. So basically, the agreement accepts to hold increase in global average temperature to well below 20 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels, and to pursue this effort to limit increase to 1.5. So basically, you're looking the Paris Agreement to reduce greenhouse emissions below 20 degrees, while the long run it will increase at 1.5 degrees. So this was a significant reduction, and to reduce the impact of climate change around the world. So the key things like that. So that's all the Paris Agreement is all about. It's available online, people can see, and we, as Nigeria, have adopted that and we signed it because we also gave our instrument of reduction called INDC, which is our own internally determined contribution as part of the agreement.
All right, thank you very much. I'll come back to you in just a moment. Olumide, if you can hear me. Hello, Olumide, can you hear me? Hello, Olumide, can you hear me? Okay, it seems
Olumide, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, he can't really hear me. So let me just again come back to you. look at the issue of now talking about it's a coming together of. Hi Hamza, thanks for coming on the program.
Pleasure. Sorry, the internet is quite.
How this morning, yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Hi, Hamza.
Now, I guess.
Yeah, if
Hamza,
you can
why is
turn
you
your
upside down like that?
yeah your phone, if you can turn it the other way around, or let's release the rotation, put the rotation on automatic.
Yeah, better.
Is this
Yeah, this is better.
no, I think I'm looking slim. Give me 1 second. Let me put it on automatic.
Yeah, do automatic and then you turn it the other way around.
Esther, stop laughing.
I'm not laughing. Look, you're a technology person.
Wow.
You're behaving like this.
See, if
Hamza, come
you,
on.
Esther, yes. I'm a
All right,
village man. Oh, forget tech. I'm still a village
Try
man.
your phone, sir. It's bigger than my phone.
All right, let's
Yeah,
put that. We'll talk about that later on. But then, Hamza, thanks for coming on the program. A bit of water has gone under the bridge before you joined. Esther gave us an inkling as to what was done in Marrakesh, as to what the Paris Agreement is all about. But then because she also talked about coming together of leaders to sign the document, the Paris Agreement, which she said was signed in New York. But then it was signed in New York. Incidentally, I mean, Donald Trump, who is the president-elect, believes climate change is a hoax. So, I mean, that's commitment now. Let's look at commitment of other world leaders to the implementation of this agreement. So to what extent do you see this happening?
Well, this has been into the COP agreement has been into force already. It's into force. So it's quite sad that the leader of the free world elected does not think climate change is real. I believe this is also an opportunity to extend an invitation to President-elect Donald Trump to come to Nigeria, and probably let's take him to the Lake Chad region so that he can firsthand see the dilapidated or see the first-hand impact of the effect of climate change. But by and large, it's quite an exciting and ambitious process. And of course, Nigeria, for the very first time, took that one where we held, I was not in Marrakesh, but I followed the process all through online, getting updates on social media and also watching the UN live cast. It was quite amazing, you can see that, world leaders for the very first time are uniting. Our government is also taking the lead. And by and large, we're taking Nigeria and Africa to the promised land where we'll see more climate action, where we'll see more mitigation and adaptation strategy that is driven by technology and innovation and having young people take the leading force.
All right, very well. Let me come to Olumide. Olumide has been on, but then I think he has issues with his internet. I hope he can join us now, Olumide, if you can hear me. Olumide, I think your mic is on mute. If you can unmute it. Okay, we're still having issues listening to Olumide. But then, Hamza, let me come back to you again. You talked about how Nigeria is suffering. Some parts of Nigeria is suffering, from climate change, effects of climate change. But what would be Nigeria's major takeaway from this event in terms of now what it will gain?
Victor, is that for me?
Yes, please. That's for you, Hamza. That's for you, Hamza.
Oh, so one thing that should be our takeaway, and of course, coming back to the country, it's important to also note that developers affirm their $100 billion US mobilization goal. This will definitely seeks to empower developing and underdeveloped countries like Nigeria and other underdeveloped countries. I think one thing to mention is to strengthen the National Agency for Great Green Wall. We know that this is an agency that seeks to 200 communities and directly empower over 40 million lives across the Sahara Desert, which is the 11 frontline states in northern Nigeria. This opportunity to enhance and strengthen a strong institutional framework. We have the political will now. We have a very robust and ambitious minister. But what is key and moving forward is
Okay, it seems we're losing Hamza's audio. Olumide, are you there? Can you hear me now?
Hello.
Yeah, hi Olumide, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you now, even though it's kind of quick. Yeah.
Sorry, the internet is really bad. That's why.
I understand. All right. So, okay, I think Hamza is back. Hamza, we couldn't hear you at the tail end of what you were trying to say. If you can come again.
Oh, so I said, I think what's important is to get stronger policy framework, whereby we would have stronger legislation that would galvanize private academia, and most important, to have confidence and make the pool over time.
Okay, very well. Let's take a moment. Let's hear from Olumide. Olumide, you've been here as well for a while, though your internet hasn't been that super responsive. But then, what can you tell us on your own part? I mean, Hamza had said a lot of things about Nigeria, you know, trying to see what Nigeria has gained from the whole conference. What more can you add to what he said already?
Okay, good morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Victor. So, thanks to Esther, thanks to Hamza and everyone. Let me say thank you to Federal Minister Party Badge to be part of the COP delegation. I my participation and understanding from
Okay, it seems we're having the same issues from Olumide as well. Esther, let me just come back to you again. I mean, you seem to have a better internet connection. So one other issue, one other issue that might easily come to mind is, you know, like Hamza talked about how mitigated some parts of Nigeria is due to climate change. In terms of funding to, you know, take care of things like that, is there any headway in that part?
If you've our INDC, all our work we're doing in the climate action is domiciled in INDC, and to require an enormous amount of money. So one of the key things we focused on as a country at the COP22 was look at demonstrate our commitment as a country to the Paris Agreement and to taking climate action, and also to gather international support for implementation of INDC. On that part, one of the key focus of what we did was climate finance. We're very interested in climate finance. So on climate finance, actually, we understand that we have to look inward as a country to raise the fund, and also, of course, with support from the global community. So one of our key focus was climate finance. In our country, we're looking at green bonds, which is sovereign green bonds, which hopefully next year, first quarter of next year, from that green bonds, we'll be able to finance some of our pipeline of project under the INDC. So it's, for us, it's very, very important, because funding for implementation is crucial. As a key part of it. So we had a side event on getting private sector support in climate action to green bonds, and we'll be working with the we're working with with the Nigerian Stock Exchange and other private sector to be able to do, and of course, Ministry of Finance and Budget Office, to look at how we could issue green bonds. Green bonds is a key avenue of raising funds for INDC beyond other ones, and hopefully to look at how we can make our own 2017 budget more greener, so that projects that are being implemented and take environmental issues into considerations. So well, that's key way of doing that, because we have to be innovative in finding resources. Funding is very, very, very key. In looking at the context of the dwindling national resources, we need to be innovative in getting funding to do that, because climate action, it's top of the priority of the federal government, or priority of some state government, like we saw in Akwa Ibom State and Cross River State. So these are things that we need to do on that one. So our key outcome was that we brought stakeholders together in the global climate finance world to talk about possibilities in issuing of green bonds the first quarter of next year, and that we can find that project. And if you do that, Nigeria will become a leader in its climate action in the continent, and of course globally as well.
Well, we can't wait, of course, for that to happen. But Hamza, let me come back to you again. News kind of filtered about countries who signed a pact on planting more palm kernel, so to speak, which is where you get palm oil from. I'm not really sure if Nigeria signed, or Nigeria was party to that deal. Is there any reason as to why we pulled out, or why we didn't join other? I know some West African countries were part of that. Is there any reason as to why we didn't place our signature on that document?
I like to react to that, because it's kind of privy to some information on that. Well, Nigeria didn't sign the agreement because Nigeria wasn't given enough time to consult internally as a country, and also the information came too late for us to do. And we were approached by the organizers for the minister to participate in a side event, and later on it was changed to signing an agreement, and later on it was changed to another thing. We advised them to contact the office of the Minister of Agriculture. We communicated that to them by email. We didn't hear from them, and as for the country, we are no longer doing anyhow in the country anymore in terms of international agreement. Due process must be followed, and key sectors must be consulted. They did not give Nigeria enough time to do that. And Nigeria is a country with its own sovereign rights, so we need to do things. So this is the kind of change we're showing the world that we're doing. We will not be pushed to do things that we're not sure of, or we're not do that. So Nigeria didn't sign an agreement. Hopefully the conversation is continuing. My colleague Mudi Ahmed, who is talking to them, is still consulting with them, and hopefully we can have the right thing in the right place and the right process is carried.
We have to wait and see how that plays out. But Hamza, would you like to comment on that as well?
Well, I think that moving forward, it's important to always have effective and engaging consultation with key stakeholders. And I bet you me, if Madam Minister had gone ahead to sign that, we would be the first to ask her who sent her. But governance has to do with engaging civil society and active citizens in the environmental sector, knowing that this is the most important sector of the land. Maybe I'm being biased, but to us, this is a much more important sector.
All right, very well. Let's still come back to Olumide. Okay, Esther, you were trying to say something?
I was reacting to Hamza. I don't think he's biased, because if we had signed that agreement without consultation, we have been at fault. And we did ask them to contact the office of the Minister of Agriculture, who was also at Paris Agreement, but they did not get back to us if they reached out to the office. In fact, so a whole lot of things they need to do. They need to understand that we're no longer doing things anyhow anymore in this country. Due process need to pass. So it's a whole interesting stuff now. So we are open to them, to more consultations. Nigeria is a very important part of the international community, so we look forward to doing things at the right time, because this is change that we all wanted. So we're still talking to them, but we will let them know that we need to do it. Yeah.
All right, very well. Let's come back to Olumide again. Olumide, if you can hear me. Okay, yeah, you're trying to say something. I can see it. But your mic is on mute now. Hello, Lumide. Yeah, can you hear me? Hello. Well, it seems the internet wants to really not let you put out your thoughts on this issue. But Hamza, let me come back to you. Still on the palm oil agreement, even though Esther says that we weren't consulted or Nigeria was not consulted properly in terms of what would be the disadvantage of not being part of that pact.
Well, I think whatever what doing at all is doing well. So for me, I don't think that it will be their loss if Nigeria is not part of it. Not our loss, for instance. It has to be their loss because Nigeria is a very important partner to the continent and the world at large. So I believe they would put their act together and galvanize all the line ministries that are meant to be engaged, but most importantly, active citizens and civil society. But again, I know our government is open and willing to work with international development partners, and we hope that these people get it right and follow due course. Nigeria is a sovereign country, so you have to respect that and engage them the way they choose. We have to set the terms. In the past, this community said, now Nigeria has gotten her act right, and we're setting the terms, and you have to follow that terms as a sovereign country.
All right, very well. Also, I mean, because Esther made mention of the agriculture minister of agriculture, who were actually present too at Marrakech. Let's look at the implications of implementing the Paris Agreement. Like, how would it help the agricultural sector in Nigeria? Hamza, that's for you.
So now,
okay, it seems we're losing Hamza again. But Olumide is back. Olumide, let me come to you again.
Government is talking about economy, and we've seen huge investment is giving us a great concern in terms of investment in.
Sorry, Hamza, if you can come again, we lost you for a minute.
Okay, so I say now we're seeing debate and discussion around the energy mix in Nigeria, and speaking about the NDC now, this is giving us some concern, knowing that there is a of investment in renewable and clean energy, which is quite exciting. But then there's also that space that says, as part of our energy mix by the Minister of Power Housing, we would also invest in coal energy, which is also worrisome because if you look at our ambitions, it's quite exciting. But then we need to get it right in terms of how are these other implementing agencies and partners ensure that we invest more in clean and renewable energy. We've seen irrigation in the agricultural sector done in other countries where you invest, you have solar panels and other cleaner ways and sustainable ways. So I think we need to debate more around how we fine-tune our energy mix as a country. Why would we want to invest in coal when we know that we can use half amount of that investment in cleaner energy and provide for households and institutes over 95,000 women annually due to open smoke from the kitchen. But then there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity here where we can create jobs, where we can live sustainably, and where we can harmonize our resources and potential and take Nigeria to a greater height. But by and large,
again, I think we're losing Hamza.
As we move forward, data has to play a key role. We must ensure that our leverage on data disaggregated data and open data are gathered from the grassroots.
Sorry, Hamza. I need you to take this response again, because we lost you in between while you were trying to make that statement. At the point you froze, and then you came back, and then you froze again. So your thoughts were kind of disjointed. You know, I mean, as it were. If you can turn off your camera for a while, I guess it will give you more bandwidth to sustain.
Internet.
Yeah. Yes, please.
So can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Well, I say what's important is we get our so-called energy mix right, because we're seeing a huge investment in the renewable and clean energy sector. But what's important is we don't have to this time dwell and go and invest in coal power plants and coal energy to provide our energy needs. I think we need to debate and discuss more around how we want to fine-tune this energy mix, because we know Nigeria is currently experiencing what we call the silent energy crisis. But what's also important is to see how we can use data, concrete and disaggregated data, to inform policy and decision making at the grassroots level. But this data has to be open, easily accessible, and most importantly, drive informed decision making at all levels.
Okay, very well. So why I was making mention of agriculture, Esther, I'll also come to you on this, is because during the conference, Morocco used the conference to launch its African agriculture initiative, or so thereabout. Adaptation of African agriculture. Do you see us moving towards that direction of launching something in that respect?
Is that for me?
Oh.
Well, for Morocco did launch APA at the Kabalu.
Okay, so, sorry, Esther, I would need you to sit in your chair. I would need you to sit back into your chair. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Morocco did launch that APA, adaptation for agriculture for Africa, and Nigeria is one of the identified countries. For us, from the Ministry of Environment, why we're talking about agriculture is looking at smart agriculture, because agriculture is one of the key sectors in the INDC, and smart agriculture is what we're looking at the moment. And of course, you saw that the Minister of Agriculture was at COP22 to look at how we can invest in smart agriculture to not only solve the fight climate change, but also improve our food security in the country. For the APA, the launch of APA, Nigeria is one of those countries, and I believe that the Minister of Agriculture will have more to say on that part of it, because for us, it's key part of our INDC to do that. Of course, we also had the Minister of Power, who was also at COP22, because power is key part of our INDC. But just to react to what Hamza said about in terms of our energy mix, and then our INDC is focused on development for the people. And as such, like that, we are going to transit to a more cleaner energy. If coal is providing energy for us at the moment for urgent need, we will do that, while we transition towards a more clean and sustainable energy for us. We're all looking at all of them. We're not going to abandon one and use the other one. We're going to use both, and while we are doing both, we provide people, and then we transit towards a cleaner energy within the INDC in 2030. So this is our kind of a focus. We understand it is hard, but our people have needs, electricity needs, enormous electricity needs that we cannot do. So we have coal, we have renewable energy together, and hopefully as we're moving that, we're transiting gradually to a more cleaner energy for all in the country. Nigeria is a huge country with a huge population and with enormous energy needs. Same for agriculture as well. Agriculture is looking at smart agriculture. In intertwined with smart irrigation as well, as part of our INDC program. So these are things that we are looking at to make sure that we're all there, we have enough food to eat, we also have enough water supply to live in our life, all of them within the context of INDC.
All right, very well. In other words, you're saying the more the merrier.
Not the more the merrier. The thing is, we need to provide power for our people. Because if you don't have power, for example, I won't be able to join you to talk to you about these issues, of course. So we're going to do that for our people. Our people are key. People are the center of INDC, and as we put them at the center of INDC, we work so hard to be able to transition towards a safer and cleaner energy for everyone.
All right, very well. Hamza, let me come back to you. In terms of other takeaways, I mean, from some of the outcomes from that, which one would you say Nigeria will have an upper hand, you know, to benefit like more from?
Well, I would say that for us, we have to be strategic and access to the $100 billion US. Not just access it, but access the lion's share of that money, because we've seen stronger commitment and stronger ambition in tackling the effect of climate change. But then coming back home, how are we able to now review ecological fund? We can't move forward if we're not able to take local resources that is generated in-house, and then take these funds to see how we can meet our committed NDCs and also finance climate smart agriculture, like Esther has mentioned. So I think we need to look at our ecological funds, how best or what are the best approach to use these funds to get more impact and ensure we're able to mitigate and adapt effectively to the impact of climate change in the country. And also, it's important to also note that the world will be watching us on the Ogoni aspect. The minister was able to meet and discuss with some partners in terms of getting international finance for Ogoni cleanup. But also, it's important that this ecological fund could also finance some aspect of the Ogoni cleanup. And you know, beyond COP22 meeting and ahead COP23, we should be able to achieve a huge milestone so that when we go to COP23, we can lead the African delegations and negotiators on the table.
All right.
Yeah, Hamza, Hamza, I agree with you a lot. This COP20 that just concluded, Nigeria really did well. Leading the Africa group in COP22. Of course, we work with the African group of negotiators, the African Development Bank, the NEPAD, and ECOWAS. So we did a lot. We're the only African country that had 3 side events that looked at building parliamentary support for climate actions, side event on climate finance in terms of innovative and alternative sources for climate actions. We also looked at youth-led innovations on climate action. So we're the only continent that demonstrated our commitment as a country. We did a lot of stuff. We brought stakeholders together. We did so much that people were proud of us. You know, we brought our legislators from here to come and talk about how are they going to support the Paris Agreement, beyond the Paris Agreement, how are they going to support the implementation of Paris Agreement with legislative framework, including, of course, budgetary issues as well. We talked about financing. How do we assess the Clean Climate Fund as a country? And how do we look inwards as a country, domestic resource mobilization through sovereign green bonds to be able to finance pipeline of projects? And what's the role of young people in all of these discussions? So we did that a lot. We came with so many good success stories to see, and our resolve as a country is strengthened so that when we come back here, things will be done. And the government is already planning an internal review of COP22 before a wider of what happened and how to move forward. For the young people, we have already been looking at doing a framework for youth participation in climate change, a more strategic framework, because implementation of Paris Agreement will rest on young people. I mean, how old will all of us be in 2030?
We'll have to wait. We have to wait.
So it's important. And innovations and research, like the minister said in the youth event, innovation and research will be based on young people like Hamza and I, who are technology savvy, someone like Victor, who's using media to communicate. We are the one that will run the Paris Agreement, whether we like it or not. I mean, so who can't do it, man? The time is now.
All right. Yeah, exactly. I think the time is now. But then Hamza made mention of, because again, trying to stay with the agriculture issue. Hamza made mention, the ecological funds, and then, but if you look at, he again made mention of how mitigated some parts of the Niger Delta is, also the Lake Chad areas and all that. And if you look at the projection of how drought and hunger will actually send some people to their early graves, one will begin to wonder what the ecological funds are being used for, and how soon will we see like I said, let's even start with what we have at home first before we go out to get all of the funds, to put them into play. Let's look at the ecological funds. How far have we gone in trying to use them to make things better in these areas, like the Ogoni cleanup, for instance, now, and then also places in like the Lake Chad region?
The Ogoni cleanup is a very specialized issue that is not part of the ecological fund at the moment. It has its own. The minister is currently, and the stakeholders are currently building the financing mechanism for that. We've already have a governance structure for the implementation of the Ogoni cleanup, and the Ogoni restoration fund management is currently been set up in terms of the fund, so it's a bit different from the ecological fund. The ecological fund is not run from the Ministry of Environment; it's run at the presidency level. But for us, for the Ogoni cleanup, it's one of the key part of what we're doing in the ministry, because the Ogoni people have suffered for a whole lot of years, for decades and decades and decades. The people have suffered a lot, and it's really painful to see that. And to make sure that the cleanup start is on ground, with the kind of governance structure we have on ground that looked at promoting transparency and accountability. Like I know that things are going to work very well. So that's the setup. Recruitment is concluding, and the major announcement will be coming on very soon on that issue, on that one. And it's the key part of what we do, because we restore the Niger Delta with issues of the gas flaring and agriculture. We will have enormous good news to share around the world. That things work very well, and with the commitment of this that we have, and of course the president himself, then we have everything we need. We just need to be able to be patient and see how the process, because the government process, a lot of place, and like I said earlier, this administration is not doing things anyhow anymore. Things has to be done accurately and accordingly, and so that the solid foundation that has been put in place can be sustainable, that other ministers in other administration will be able to look at and say, yeah, we had a solid foundation. So things are working in that one. So for that is the Ogoni cleanup. So because of that, is a bit different from the ecological fund. It's a distinct issue on its own. It has its own restoration fund that has been foundation has been put in place for that one.
All right. I hope that fund is brought to the fore eventually, and all these areas are taken care of, just to also meet up with what the whole COP22 and of course next month will come.
Yeah, even before then, the minister did had the meeting with donors working in the Niger Delta at the World Bank before we went to COP to look at who is doing what in the Niger Delta, who is providing what resources, so that it can be both coordinated and organized, because coordination of issues in the Niger Delta is so critical to the implementation of the UNEP report. So there was a meeting on that one with donors around working in the Niger Delta to be able to see, okay, this is the resources we have on ground. How do we innovatively use these resources to achieve the goal as it is? Of course, with the structure on ground that has been put in place by the president, that makes it more. So we're doing things methodologically, step by step, going forward, so that the foundation is stronger and everyone will be involved. Of course, we're doing this with the community, not just only the government, with community as well. We noticed the minister will keep traveling to the rivers, Port Harcourt, to be able to meet with stakeholders to see how everyone is consulted, is involved in the process of the cleanup.
All right, Esther Agbarakwe, thank you very much. You were part of this program as well with Olumide Idowu, whom we couldn't really get to hear from, as well as the CEO of Connected Development, co-founder of Connected Development, Hamzat Lawal. Thank you all for coming on the program and sharing your thoughts on this issue. That's where we wrap it up today on the program. I'm Victor Matthias, and it's a Google Plus Hangout for Channels B.
Thank you, Victor.